Hello, friends. Today's love story is that of Shakuntala and Dushyant. It takes place during the Mahabharata in Dwapar Yug, over 3000 years before Christ. Any story that our granny told us always started with once upon a time. So let me do the same. So, once upon a time, there lived a sage by the name Vishwamitra in India. Indian sages are usually very spiritual, and their main aim is to attain moksha, that is, freedom from the cycle of birth and death, through meditation and intensive austerities. One side advantage of such austerities can be that the sage may be awarded supreme powers. These powers could put the gods in fear of losing their positions and seats in Svarglok, which is called heaven, just like it happens in politics. Now, Vishwamitra was, by virtue of his strict asceticism, just one step short of becoming a Brahmarishi. That status would have awarded him powers to govern the kingdom of Indra, the king of gods. Not that Rishi Vishwamitra was seeking that power, but Indra, the king of gods, felt threatened. It's natural. Indra, therefore, resorts to a plan which he is sure would be successful. Knowing that female beauty can distract any human being from their resolve, Indra sends his trusted court dancer Menaka to lure Rishi Vishwamitra into breaking his meditation. Menaka succeeds. She stays with Vishwamitra long enough for her to become pregnant. Later on, the sage gets wind of Indra's sinister plan behind all this. He is very angry with Menaka for having tricked him out of his meditations. The rishi abandons her to return to his asceticism. Now, what should Menaka do under the circumstances? After childbirth, like a coward mother, she abandons the girl on the banks of river Malini and returns to her beloved god Indra. The poor child is left alone, unattended, and without care by any human being. God's ways are mysterious, and we should never forget that. As it happened, Rishi Kanva lived in that area. He had interrupted one of his long meditation sessions to return to his hermitage for a short time. On his way home, he discovers this little girl, takes her home, and brings her up as his own daughter. He names her Shakuntala because before he found her, she was being looked after by birds, the Sanskrit word for which is Shakunt. Several years pass by. Shakuntala grows into a beautiful young maiden. She knows sage Kanva to be her father and looks after him well whenever he visits the cottage. The rishi, however, spends most of his time away from home. Now, one day, the following incident happened. Dushyant, the king of Hastinapur, is very fond of hunting. During such an outing, he injured a deer with his arrow. Chasing the deer, he lands up at the cottage of sage Kanva, where young Shakuntala is tending to the very same injured deer. It was love at first sight between the two. Shakuntala was young and pretty, and Dushyant was tall and handsome. During the following days, their relationship grows closer. They decide to get married through the Gandharva Vivah. It is a marriage by mutual consent of individuals and through exchange of garlands, even if no elders and relatives participate and there are no rituals. After a couple of months, Dushyant must return to his kingdom to attend to his royal duties. As memento of his love, he gives to Shakuntala a royal signet ring and promises to return and fetch her after some time. In his absence, Shakuntala thinks only of Dushyant and is generally lost in daydreaming about her husband. One day, while she was in such a reverie, Rishi Durvasha came by to meet sage Kanva. He beckoned Shakuntala, but Shakuntala was lost in a world of her own. When even after the third time Rishi Durvasa did not get any response from her, he lost his temper and loudly cursed her that the person you are thinking of about now will not recognize you on meeting you. The loud shout by the Rishi broke Shakuntala's reverie. Realizing what blunder she had committed, she fell on the Rishi's feet and begged forgiveness. Moved by her sincerity and innocence, the Rishi also thought that his wrath was not justified, said, "I cannot take the curse back, but that person will remember everything if you showed him any token that he left with you." Now, several months passed. Shakuntala gave birth to a boy. She named him Bharat, but there was no sign of Dushyant returning to fetch her. This naturally was a matter of worry for her. So she prepared for a journey to Hastinapur. Rishi Kanva and some of her lady friends accompanied her. Now, part of the journey had to be traversed by boat on water. Even as a young girl, Shakuntala loved running her hands through the water of the Malini river. She was overjoyed with the thought of reunion with her husband. She repeated the same childhood game. Now, as it happened, the royal ring which Dushyant had gifted her, and which was somewhat too large in size for her finger, slipped out and fell into the water. Shakuntala did not even notice the loss. Now the convoy arrives in Hastinapur. King Dushyant grants them a hearing. Shakuntala narrates the entire story of their first meeting, their wedding, and stay together in Rishi Kanva's ashram. But the king can recall nothing. Shakuntala then wants to show the signet ring that Dushyant had left with her, but the ring was not on her finger. The first part of Rishi Durvasha's curse had taken effect. The king and his advisors also thought that Shakuntala was a hoax. The ever magnanimous King Dushyant, however, offers them place to stay in the refugee camp in Hastinapur. But Shakuntala has a feminine pride. She leaves the king's court and starts living in a small village in a forest, far away from Hastinapur and also far away from sage Kanva's ashram. She doesn't want to return to Rishi Kanva either. Shakuntala brings up her son Bharat in the midst of animals and birds and Mother Nature. Bharat grows into a strong young man who plays fearlessly together with lions and leopards and cheetahs and hawks. Bharat is told that he is the son of King Dushyant. One day, the King Dushyant is holding court in his royal palace when suddenly a turmoil breaks out. The guards bring forth a fisherman in handcuffs. He is charged with theft of a royal signet ring and also of lying that he found this ring in the belly of a fish that he had caught that day in the river. The guard takes the ring to the king. The king recognizes the ring, picks it up, and lo, the miracle happened. The second part of Rishi Durvasa's curse upon Shakuntala takes effect. King Dushyant remembers the past. His meeting with Shakuntala, their Gandharva marriage, his giving her that signet ring, and his promising to return to fetch her to Hastinapur. He also remembered Shakuntala's coming to him and asking for her rights and how he shunned her out of the court. The king is repentant. As a first, he rewards the fisherman with a bag full of gold coins and sends him home with all respect. As a second, he sends his soldiers all over the region to search for Shakuntala. He himself rides post haste to Rishi Kanva's hermitage. Nobody lives there anymore. He ventured deeper into the forest. After several days of search, he suddenly sights a young boy playing together with a lion. The young lad had forcibly opened the lion's mouth to count his teeth. Dushyant approached the boy and asked him who he was. He replied that his name was Bharat and that he was the son of King Dushyant and that his mother was Shakuntala. Dushyant asks the boy to lead him to his mother. Folks, it was a tearful reunion between husband and wife. There was no fault finding or blaming everyone. They both realized that it was Rishi Durvasha's curse that had taken its toll. Even the god of destiny could not have changed it. The rest of the story is short. Dushyant and his family returned to Hastinapur, where Shakuntala is rightfully declared as queen, and they lived happily ever after. Moral of the story: in the end, true love always triumphs. In the end, true love always triumphs. Hope you like this story, folks, despite it being a little too long. Such stories are too long. Stay blessed.